Well, it seems like the connection dropped for some reason, so let's carry on. So sorry about that. Okay, so I just finished the first of the 6 objectives. Now let's do the second one. Second one is make good use of time and resources. To make good use of the few moments right now. Hi, Brittany. Sorry about that. Lost connection. So I'm going to jump right into the second objective. Well, let me just have a sip of coffee for a second. Let anybody who wants to come, who dropped out, who I lost, join us. I touched the camera and it just kind of went away. Ugh. Hey, you know what, Brittany? That's interesting timing, right? Because I was just talking about what a punctuation on that bit of video. Because I was saying, be able to just turn, just die and fall away without a single backward glance, and then the video cut out. What dramatic timing. Okay, so number 2. This is the second of my 6 objectives. And thank you, Brittany. I really appreciate you coming back. Make good use of time and resources. To make good of these few moments right now, and to dwell very little on past utilization other than to use such memory to inform my judgment in the direction of improved forward progress. To also make good use of whatever resources are at my disposal, not just for increase, but to spend, share, give, or apply these resources well, and in ways which are in accord with my life objectives and principles. Below are examples of some of the things I'd like to be caught doing when death comes at last to utterly snuff out my light. See, there's something about that writing that I don't quite like. It sounds so flowery or something. It just misses the point. It's like you're reading it and then you get to the end and it's like, what the hell? What did he say? But what I'm trying to say here is the heading is make good use of time and resources. That's my second principle or objective. The reason I put it, and they're in that order for a reason. To be always ready to die is my first objective because that's the most important one. If I can do that, then that by definition, I've got in my wake a wake of properly settled affairs in my wake if I'm ready to die. Second one, making good use of time and resources. This is the one that I use throughout the day, literally throughout the day, especially at work, asking myself, is this a good use of time? Particularly, am I making good use of time for my employer, who I work for the government, which happens to be the taxpayers? And it's really good at keeping me on task and on focus. And then what I say here, and like I said here, it's not just to increase my resources or increase my fortune or wealth or whatever, but to spend, share, give, and apply these resources well and in ways are which in accord with my life objectives and principles. And then I list a couple of things that I'd like to be caught doing when death comes to get me. I'll just read them. Breathing slow and measured breaths. This is a bulleted list. 2. Controlling my emotions. Thinking deliberately. Acting deliberately. Remembering and acting upon my responsibilities. Preparing a good meal. Eating well and very little. Helping others. Being attentive to my family. Doing a good job. Providing good value to my employer. Learning something startlingly new. Reading an excellent book. Studying history. Imagining the future. Enjoying good music. Listening to a good lecture, discussion, or debate. Challenging what I believe. That's an important one for me. Changing my mind for good reason. Admitting that I was wrong. Apologizing when necessary. Becoming uncomfortable. Remember, these are things that I consider good uses of time. Becoming uncomfortable is a very good use of time. That means I'm on the edge of some frontier. That means that I'm out of my comfort zone, and I want to be out of my comfort zone as much as possible, as much as I can tolerate. Withstanding discomfort. So that's two things that go as a pair. Becoming uncomfortable and withstanding discomfort. Because it's one thing to stand in a new light and go, holy crap, what's this? And it's another thing to stay in that new light and not turn around and go, I had enough of that. Out of here. Suffering well and longer than I thought I could. A very stoic sentiment, don't you think? Standing, walking, swimming, or simply moving. Making a pet happy. That one makes me happy. Picking up litter, recording and sharing my thoughts, my own thoughts. Accurately recounting the idea of another. Let me back up a little bit about that. Recording and sharing my own thoughts. I know that's Henry David Thoreau in Walden wrote that, I would dare write so much. He kind of apologized for writing a book about his own thoughts and sharing his own thoughts. But he said, I wouldn't speak so much of myself if there were anybody who I knew so well. So I like that, especially, for example, when I'm on social media and I'm having a discussion with people, I really love it when people write their own thoughts in a response. It doesn't mean so much to me when people simply post a link to somebody else's thoughts. It's like a proxy. I'm interested in what you have to say. And Thoreau also said that when he reads a book, he hopes that the author will give a little bit of an accounting of themselves, a little reckoning of who they are right up front, so you can get to know them. Because if that person has indeed lived an honest life, it should be a unique life from anything that Thoreau could possibly know, and have a lot to offer in terms of a wider perspective. Well, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. And maybe what you're referring to is what Thoreau said. Yeah, I mean, his writing on this subject and his thoughts on the subject are amazing. Hi, Alex. Ohisashiburi. Okay, making a pet happy. I just love that one, if I do say so myself. Picking up litter, recording and sharing my own thoughts. Okay, we are there. Accurately recounting the idea of another. That's really important to me. My dad, I've said this before, and I'll be brief. My dad simply said when I went off to college, he said, Kurt, learn to understand whatever you can learn in college, to understand what other people are saying, so that you can then respond to what they're saying, not to what you think they're saying. And so being able to accurately recount the ideas of another is an important way to get verification that you actually are on track with, or we're actually on track with what other people say. And I do that in a lot of my own work as a project manager. Take a breath. When people say something to me, my customers say something to me about the problem, I try to then restate that back to get the affirmation or to get an accounting that I'm actually on the right track. Okay, enough said. Sleeping deeply, discovering I'm wrong. I love it when I discover it, and it happens a lot. And last one is remembering death. We met at Shibuya meetup. I remember something, confirmation. Oh, see, this is what did it. I can't hit the comments. The comment thing, oh, there it is. Top chat. That's what happened before. I tried to hit the comments and the whole thing. Alex, you said we met at the Shibuya meetup. I remember getting beer at the konbini before the event. I remember that. Yeah, that's great. That was a happy memory. That Shibuya event, and I remember going to the konbini and getting that. I think I dressed up as softypapa in the softypapa attire on that one. Okay, 3. Good times for sure, Alex. 3. Develop and maintain good and sound life principles. I will secure early in life good rules to live by, objectives and principles which are accurate and true. I will then dedicate some time each day to using, testing, and refining these objectives and principles. Over time, I'll make a small catalog of only the soundest truths I have found, which I will then number and recount each day for the purpose of further discovery and self-guidance. Finally, I will share what I have found through the example of my words and actions and my best effort of living a good and sound life. See, again, flowery language, not quite what I want to say, but it kind of, gets it. And basically saying that this whole process of developing the objectives and the principles, that's a part of what's one of my objectives, I've developed them, and now I have to maintain them. And I'm hesitant to touch the camera to adjust the light because it might die again. 4, cultivate good emotional reactions. It's a really important one for me. I will take control of my emotions such that these inform my living less than control it. Feelings and reactions will then become life counselors rather than rulers and chiefs. Though through this effort, I will create and reflect a life of equanimity through inward control and resulting outward peace. So that is something that I do particularly at work, by forecasting for myself what's going to happen through the day. I try to imagine the meetings that I'm going to go to, the people that I'll interact with, and what circumstances might frustrate me or upset me or even anger me. And by being ready for that, I can then prepare responses that allow me to manage my emotional reactions. And even if I'm, boiling inside, it won't necessarily come out. And it doesn't mean necessarily that it blows up later. I found that I can then release that in other ways, or sometimes it doesn't even get, pre-processed. That's right, Alex. It doesn't even need to get released. Sometimes it's a powerful thing to recognize it and mitigate it. That's the right word, is to mitigate the response rather than respond to it wholesale. Number 5, perform good actions. My deeds should be worthy of a life spent working to pass each day as an improvement, not only for myself and my family, but also for those with whom we share life now, as well as those in the future who will receive this common inheritance. That's not even more than a single sentence. I didn't realize that. So that's one whole objective in a single sentence, to do good things throughout the day for their own benefit and for the benefit of those to come. And we all know what those good things are. Next, and this is the last of the objectives, to recognize true limits and true opportunity. I will strive to live life in honest recognition of my true scope of control, which extends no further than my thoughts, my actions, and my actions and reactions, and the consequences these might entail. I'll ask myself how I may craft favorable ends from any circumstance. What misfortune do I not have the power to fashion into some instrument of virtue? Is it death now at the door? Do not bar the way, for the hour of our meeting is truly at hand, and I will not detain in vain any will, force, or consequence which is truly beyond my control. Again, a lot of thought in just a few sentences, and maybe that's the reason why it comes out that way. But what I'm trying to do there with recognizing true limits and true opportunity is to see what the scope of my potential is, to know where those limits are so I don't dream too far beyond and in excess of what's actually possible, but then at the same time recognize what is within my opportunity so that I can indeed act upon those. For example, I'm 55 years old in a few months. Probably don't have more than 2 decades left, as I like to sometimes say, 20 summers left, probably less than that. It's probably in vain for me to imagine objectives or set goals that are 30 plus years out. I'm probably not going to achieve any of those. For example, it's probably not a very reasonable or very good use of time to decide on a wholesale new career, maybe to become a medical doctor. And have to go back for another 10 years of school. I'll be late in my mid 60s by then. I mean, I could do it, but is it really a good use of time? Is it within my possibility? Is it probably not. Those are limits. Those are actual real limits. So, but on the other hand, thank you, Brittany. I hope I can live to be 100. On the other hand, what opportunities do those are there in that container as well? Well, if I have 20 years left, or maybe even 5 or 10 years, there's a good opportunity for me to continue working on this project right here. And my goal of this project is to state it very simply, is to help young people in particular, or even not so young people, not commit suicide. To state it very bluntly, I want people who I will be happy if those people who recognize this emptiness, as I talked about in the first video, that emptiness of the universe, instead of saying that it's not worth sticking around as a consequence, but instead were to actually then choose to develop objectives and principles of their own and create worthwhile and meaningful lives of their own, in spite of the fact of the universe appears to be without apparent meaning. So I have some good time to work on that. I have good time to work on this today, right now, throughout the years to come. Jesus. Anyway, I just joined. Haha. Hi, Jonathan. Yeah, that's a pretty heavy one, huh? Just to pop in and hear that. That is the objective. And great people like you deserve to live a long time. Well, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. And that is not something I picked out of a tree. That is something that came with my time in Japan, because I would get those young people writing, and particularly young people in their 20s, late 20s, sometimes in their early 30s, writing to me, telling me that they didn't know what to do, and that that life didn't seem to offer, or I'm trying to find a way to say it. They were at their wits' end with a universe that didn't seem to care. And what could they do? And they saw me sitting in Japan having all this fun, having a family, and doing all these seemingly things, and ask, how'd you do that? And I would kind of think to myself, well, I didn't do it because of, as to borrow your term, I didn't do it because of Jesus. I didn't do it because I had some faith or I believed in an afterlife. I simply did it because I thought that I had a limited amount of time and I wanted to be a good man and I wanted to live a good life and I wanted to have a little bit of fun and take care of my family and leave the world in a better place than when I arrived. But I didn't give it a lot of thought. It was with the recognition of this. I just accepted this as what it is. And so that's when I started this project, that I'm going to go ahead and take that recognition, the world of the universe without apparent meaning, and apply to that the objectives and principles that I had created over the course of my life, and that's the book. And so I can do this. So back to the thing, recognizing true limits and opportunity. I don't have a lot of decades left, and maybe not even very many years left, but that's a true limit. But I do have a true opportunity to make good use of that time doing stuff just like this, and that's what I'm going to do. That's my project. Okay, you know what, everybody? I think I'm going to stop right there because I've gone through the 6 objectives. And next comes the 20 principles. And I think that's a good cutoff point, especially as this has gone over 2 videos, a good cutoff point for this particular book reading. And it's just about a little over half an hour that's gone over 2 videos. And I'm sorry for the cutoff for those of you that joined. So I touched the camera and it dropped YouTube, and that was the end. What do you guys think? I'm thinking about maybe leaving, hopefully this won't cut the camera off, leaving my little place here at the Irvine Spectrum next time and maybe do this at the beach. I think I can do it. Would that be interesting to do this from the beach? Maybe from the rocks at Shaw's Cove? I'm gonna give that a try. Maybe I'll go down there and try, just hook up the camera and see if the camera does it. Sure? You like that idea, Brittany? Thanks. Thanks for sharing, Kurt. Alex, you're welcome. And thanks for joining. And for any comments that I've missed, thank you for those. And love the Cal in nature. Great. Sounds like a good, very good. I'm glad to hear. I'll do that. Next time we'll be at the beach. It might be a little bit chilly, but it should be beautiful. A good idea. Thank you, Brittany. Well, everybody, I'm going to sign off for now. My wife and daughter are probably just waking up right now. We got a day ahead of us. Martin Luther King Day off tomorrow. Some things to do. We're going out looking for our new home. That's where we've been spending our weekends, going exploring new communities. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day.